Hi friends! I wanted to hop on and make another video today about butterflies. I know that I've told you that last week and this week we were learning about butterflies, and in your packet of work from school there was an activity where you had to sequence the different stages of a butterfly. And so I wanted to go over those with you. Most of the time people think about just four main stages. And so the first thing would be the egg, okay? And so this is one that I just colored. It doesn't mean that it's this size, and this doesn't mean that it's yellow. In fact, I have some real photographs I'll show you in a little bit. But this says that the egg is the beginning of a butterfly life cycle, so that's how it starts, okay? And then it says the tiny caterpillar hatches and eats leaves, okay? So we typically think of this next, another stage. The caterpillar turns into a chrysalis. Now, if you have heard the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, he says in there that it turns into a cocoon, and that is not correct. That's what a moth does. A moth makes a cocoon. A butterfly makes a chrysalis. So anyway, it's just something that I wanted to point out. Most books, I think, get it right, but he calls it a cocoon, which is basically the same thing. But it's actually a chrysalis, okay? And then the last stage, it says out of the chrysalis comes a butterfly. Okay, so those are typically the four, excuse me, main stages. But I've got some real photographs. And actually I wanted to talk a little bit because your paper that you have where you had to sequence, it has more than just four. There may have been one that had four, but I know that there was one that had more than that. And so I have some photographs here in a little bit to show you that has more than that. Okay, so this, I'm going to show you just some of the pages out of this book. It's The Life Story of the Butterfly by Michael Chinnery. It says its photography is by Barry Watts and illustrated by Helen Senior. So there's some things that are illustrated, that means drawn. Some of the pictures were drawn, and then there are some that are real photographs. And so it actually had someone take the pictures. This is, the publisher of this book is Troll Associates. So, but this is an information book. We've talked a little bit about that, about some other books, like when we did the rabbit one. Okay, this one is not going to tell a story like Clara's. It's going to actually give us information. Okay, so I'm going to skip to this page where it talks about how one of this particular butterfly is called a swallowtail. You can see this right here, the photograph that it's kind of a butterfly is called a swallowtail. And so this is a photograph of the egg. Here's a drawing of it, okay? But then this is a photograph. Now, it's a really zoomed in picture. You're not going to walk outside and find a butterfly egg this big. They're really, really tiny, okay? But here is a real photograph of a butterfly egg. It says it's there for about 7 days until the caterpillar actually fills up inside and it's ready to hatch. And so here's a drawing. It says that whenever they are first born, they're really, really hungry, and so it starts to eat its shell. They have really strong jaws from the very beginning, and so they're able to, from the inside, bite a hole, and then they end up eating their shell. And so here is the drawing, but then here's a real photograph of it. Okay, so here you can tell he's been eating the shell of the egg, hasn't he? Okay, and then they eat and eat and eat. If you remember the story from The Very Hungry Caterpillar, they eat and eat and eat. And this is a very colorful caterpillar, okay? Just eat lots of leaves. I really love, there's a drawing of it, the illustration. And then it says again in about 4 weeks, so in about a month, this particular caterpillar is going to be about 2 inches long. So it's going to be about like that. And it's ready to make a chrysalis. Now, this kind of butterfly actually does it to the side, okay? The ones in the photograph, and most of the ones that I have seen in books, they actually hang upside down. And if we had butterflies in our classroom, I had a butterfly net, and you may have seen that in other classes that you've been in. where they can mail you caterpillars in the mail. And then you take the butterfly net and you pin it inside and you watch them. And once they've made a chrysalis, then you can pin it inside, and they hang from the top. And so that's the most of the ones that I've seen. But here is, again, the photograph. You can see this tiny little thread, and this is what holds them on. See if I can get it there. Okay. And again, here's the illustration, how it shows how the chrysalis starts to change. See, it changes. He gets inside that chrysalis. It kind of makes it around him. It says that he's entered the chrysalis stage of life. He doesn't feed or move when he's on it, but his body is turning into the beautiful butterfly inside. Okay, and so here you can kind of see how it used to be a caterpillar, but then it changes, and then I think this is really cool. Like, you can kind of almost see the butterfly inside, and then again, here's the photograph, and here he's coming out. Okay, so it was the chrysalis stage, and now he's at the butterfly stage. And here he is coming out. And when they first come out, if you've ever seen it, sometimes they have like some red stuff that kind of hangs down, or maybe even different colors, but it's just fluid, it's not blood. But they have to dry out because it's really wet in there. And so they stand there, they stay there for a little bit, and they kind of let their wings dry out and get all strong before they're able to fly. And so I wanted to show you some of the photographs here that I have. Says that these are just living and learning from life sequences. So that's all it really says. But here are, again, another photograph of eggs. I'm trying to get it where you can see. Okay. And again, this is a really zoomed in photograph. This is actually as of a leaf. Okay. And here they are where they have hatched. Let's see if I can, there, that's better. And then until they've kind of started eating some of the shell of the egg. Now here's one where it's in a big caterpillar phase, and it's hungry, and it's eating, and it's eating. Okay. Now this caterpillar is not as colorful, right? And it's got great camouflage. It blends in to keep it safe. It kind of looks like that leaf. And so here shows where it's getting a little bit darker. It's got an interesting head on him, doesn't he? That interesting? I had to look at that one for a little while. Okay, so then it's going to go into the chrysalis phase. Okay, and so again, these are going to be where they're hanging upside down. And you can kind of tell. And if you've ever seen this happen, you'll notice over time that the chrysalis will get darker. Like, it will change colors. It'll start off kind of this color, and then it'll start looking darker, but really, I think it's getting a little bit more see-through. So you're able to see the butterfly inside. Let me move this where you can see it a little better. Okay. So they hang upside down. And here is where the butterfly is emerging. That means where it's coming out. Okay, it's starting to come out of the chrysalis. And again, it's going to be very wet. These are some really cool photographs. Okay, and so here it has come all the way out, and he's hanging upside down. We can see some of those beautiful colors on him, and you can also tell his wings have not opened up all the way. They're not really strong yet. Okay, and here they are. Do you see the difference between these two? Isn't that cool? So you can tell this one is where he's wet, and this one is where he's dry and about ready to fly away. And then here he is. And I'm saying it's a him, I don't really know. But right here. One thing that's interesting, and you might have seen it on I believe it's called the something about a bog beast, on the original, oh gracious, Magic School Bus, where they talk about the coloring on different animals, but in this case specifically the butterfly. So this one, it looks like it has an eye, and so that is because, so when birds are flying high, it thinks that it's an animal, it thinks that it's an eye, and so it's not going to swoop down and eat it because it thinks that it is not an insect. So kind of like how that caterpillar was green and camouflaged on the leaf, again, so it blends right in. This one does not blend right in, but it's going to look like it's not just a butterfly. So whenever you are doing that project with the different stages of a butterfly, if there's more than 4, that's fine, because that's how this was, right? There's lots of different stages, but the 4 main stages are the egg, the caterpillar, the chrysalis, and the butterfly. Sometimes you'll also hear the words pupa and larva. The larva would be the little caterpillars, and then when it turns into a chrysalis, sometimes they'll call it a pupa. You'll probably hear that as you get older and get into other grades. But if you need any help with it or anything, let me know. But I hope that you enjoyed learning about butterflies. I've got a fun project that I'm hoping that my children cooperate with, since they want to be on camera so badly, that we're going to do tomorrow. And I will upload that then. Love you. See you later.